With more than 10 years of performing, you can say this young woman has been given a coat of many colors. The fabric of her life brings forth a vast array of opportunities and experience. Mary Sarah was raised in the Texas Opry circuit, where she first began defining and honoring her traditional country roots. And in 2016, America embraced her on the #1 rated TV show in the country, The Voice. Her blind audition garnered her a 4-chair turn, singing country's iconic "Where the Boys Are" by Connie Francis, a tune that continues to garner standing ovations and whispers of the greatness of her mentors, Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton, and the likes of Carrie, Underwood, and Miranda, Lambert. She quickly advanced onto Team Blake, and she has graced the iconic stage of the Grand Ole Opry a total of 5 times. So with her undeniable talent and infectious spirit, let's welcome country recording artist Mary Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Hello! Oh my gosh, what an intro!
Well, you're very welcome for that, and I think you deserve a great intro. But, you and I were kind of talking off camera, and you were raised Richmond, Sugar Land area, so let me ask you this. You were also raised on the Texas Opry circuit. Were your parents musicians?
So, it's actually kind of crazy. So when I started singing, I was about 9 or 10 years old. And it actually stemmed from, I have an older sister, and at that time she wanted to play piano. And so she took piano lessons. And of course, as the older sister, as the younger sister, looking at the older sister going, I want to be just like her. So I was like, hey, can I get piano lessons too? But I would always sing along. And so that's kind of how that started, was my piano teacher just said, hey, you have like natural pitch, you have a natural vibrato. Like, I know this vocal coach in Houston, Tom McKinney, and he's great. He could totally take you in, give you lessons and everything. And so it just kind of shot from there. As far as music in the family, I mean, other than my sister she played classical piano for like 12 years. She's about the only one. And my dad, I will say, he's got like college and high school days of band on his resume. So, but that's about it. Other than that, like, it just kind of really came out of nowhere.
Well, how did you end up on the Texas Opry circuit?
That growing up in Texas and being the age that I was when I started singing, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to sing at a lot of places. It was about the only place as a 10, 11-year-old I could sing. You got the bars of Texas and stuff, but that's not any place a 10-year-old should be. So that was where I just had the opportunity to get up on stage at that age. And so it opened the door to classic country music for me. What's funny too is I remember my dad saying, hey, like, if you really do want to perform, this is about the only place. But the thing is it's classic country music. And so let me show you what kind of music they would love to hear you sing there. And so that's how I learned about Patsy Cline. That's how I learned about Loretta Lynn and Connie Francis. And just that's how that opened that door. It was an opportunity at that age to perform.
Well, I like the fact that you really lean into the classic traditional country. And when I look at all of the recording artists in country music, I'm seeing there are more females singing classic country than the male counterparts do, because they're kind of leaning towards that whole, not wearing a hat pop sound is what I call it. But I think, country, it's the female artists that are really bringing country back to its roots. Of course, we know Chris Stapleton and Luke Combs really bringing that country flavor as well.
Yeah.
But
well, that's a good observation. I don't know if I've ever thought about it, but that is a very good point. Us, like, females right now are really loving that classic sound. So,
well, yeah,
I feel pretty cool being a female in country music.
Well, yeah, I know Carrie Underwood kind of plays the line on both sides a bit, but Miranda Lambert, she pushes that traditional country, and the way I look at it, more power to all of you doing that. But I want to ask you a question, because I was really kind of surprised about this, because I know when you were on the Texas Opry circuit, but then you landed a major touring role with Kidz Bop at the age of 12. How did that happen?
Oh my gosh. I will say a lot of anything that I've done in my life has really been relationship driven. So That came through my vocal coach at that time. He recommended to start going out to LA and doing a lot more of the acting kind of performing route. And so he recommended an agent out in LA. And so my mom and I went just for a couple of days. We went to go meet the agent out there, and we had an incredible time. And what's crazy too is he really never wanted to, I guess, take under his belt a child under, like being an agent for a child. He just didn't, he was like, no, I'm better with adults. But he took the meeting with us anyways. And we just had the best time. And it was literally that trip. He said, okay, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to start sending you stuff, things to audition for. And it came in on my email. It was the day before we were supposed to leave LA and go home. I saw it on the email, and I told my mom, I said, please, please, I just really want the experience. Like, I was so excited. I saw Kidz Bop, I saw Tour, I saw, all these things that as a kid, I'm like, this sounds amazing. And I talked my mom into staying one more day just to audition for it. And I auditioned, and then it was like a 2-day audition process. And I had auditioned the first day, and they asked my mom, they went to her and they said, hey, can we have her stay for the second round? So we stayed another day. But the wild thing though is, like, we didn't hear anything after we went home. I thought, well, I didn't get it. It had been like 2.5 months. And so no word, no nothing. So I told my mom, I said, is there any way you could call my agent and see? And he said, it was just kind of crazy timing wise, because they called right before that and said that I had gotten it. And so then he, gosh, what was the saying that he always wanted me to say, that if he had something good, go ahead, make my day, was the saying. And so he said, okay, you can say it. And I said it, go ahead, make my day. And
Wow.
he let me know, and I just lost it. I mean, I was 12. To think of going on tour at 12 is just, and even now, I'm a mom now, and thinking of my kid at 12 going, let's go on tour, let's do, crazy things like that. I'm like, would I be the same way? Would I be like, okay, yeah, let's do it?
Well, how long did you do Kidz Bop?
It was 6 months. We did across the East Coast and Midwest. It was 48 cities. And it was like full on. We were doing like arenas and theaters were the venues that we were doing. And we would definitely pack out the theaters because it was the first ever Kidz Bop tour. So they still do it now. But it was the first kind of like trial run on this thing that they wanted to do. So we were the first go around. I was one of 6 kids on the tour, and there was 2 adults that kind of led the whole thing, and a full band. And we spent the first 2 weeks in Minneapolis practicing over and over again. I think at that time, honestly, they worked us a little too hard as kids, but we enjoyed it because we were just having fun.
Well, after it was over, did you just get the whole entertainment, you just kind of fell into the whole thing and you just wanted more after it was over?
I did really, I had one moment specifically where I knew that I wanted to perform for the rest of my life. And we were in a theater, gosh, I want to say closer to like Chicago somewhere. I can't remember exactly the theater, but I do remember being there, and I was down in the backstage area, and I saw that Patsy Cline had signed the wall. And so being in the Texas, like knowing who she is, I was freaking out. All the other kids were like, who's Patsy Cline? And I was like, Mom, you're not going to believe this. Patsy Cline has performed here. This is crazy. So there was already this like feel before the show itself that I was just really excited to be performing in the same place. And so we, as kids, each had a solo moment in the show. And so my solo moment was during a song called Move Along by the All American Rejects. And it was a very like calm, like the music drops out and it's literally just my singing on the bridge part of the song. And so being the perfectionist I am, every show that I had done before that, I was always thinking about how I could perfectly sing it, or if there was like something different that I could do. So that's where my brain was in that moment. But this specific time, I just told myself, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this moment itself. And I don't even care if I sing it right or how it sounds or whatever. I'm just going to enjoy it. And so I go to sing, and I kid you not, the whole crowd sang every word with me, and it sounded like a choir of angels. And it was a heavenly moment. It was a heavenly moment. And I got off stage and I ran to my mom and I was crying and I was laughing all at the same time. And I just said, Mom, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I knew then that was what it was going to be. And I didn't know what that looked like though. And, thankful for my parents though, because after Kidz Bop, I think a lot of people think once you have these successes, like, oh, you'll just stay at that level. No, that's not how it works. It's you have to work even harder after that. And so my parents did. They sat me down and they said, hey, just because you got here doesn't mean it's just going to be that way all the time. Especially as a kid to understand that too. To kind of go, hey, it still takes a lot of hard work to continue to get these successes that you want to do and to get on these stages. Like it's not an overnight thing where it just is what it is.
Yeah, and I think at that moment when you decided just to enjoy it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, everything else just kind of took over, and the audience probably most likely picked that up. Instead of,
Mm-hmm.
they always tell us that don't overthink it. And
Yeah. Oh
if you
man, I'm
yeah,
an
because
overthinker.
so am I. So if you overthink things, it's almost to the point to where you can almost be too conscious and too robotic about it. But then if you just get into the moment, enjoy the
Yeah.
moment, then that's where I think the magic
Mm-hmm.
absolutely happens. And it sounds like that
100%.
was your defining moment right then and
Yeah.
there, knowing what you wanted to do for the rest of your life. So now
Yeah.
let's move forward to 2016 and talk about your time on The Voice. I've
Yeah.
talked to a bunch of people who have been on American Idol, but that's a whole different deal when it
Yeah.
comes to The Voice. So explain the song that you decided to choose. Why did you choose that particular Connie Francis song to do
Mm-hmm.
the blind audition?
Well, that's it's a pretty big question just because I had been singing Where the Boys Are, early on since the beginning of the Opry circuit. So it's been a part of my life for a very long time. And prior to The Voice, I actually was able to do a record called Bridges, which was a duets record with legends in country music. So I had the honor of getting to sing with Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard and the Oak Ridge Boys, Tina Tucker. So I was 15 at that time when we started that record. And that Where the Boys Are was about the only song that I could just on a whim, like if somebody was like, "Hey, could you sing this a cappella?" or like, "Could you sing something a cappella?" and I'd be like, "Where the boys are." It was I knew it like the back of my hand. It was my favorite. Like vocally, I loved singing it. It felt so good to sing. So I was just even now, it's still my all-time like favorite song to sing. Um, and before that Bridges record, we had put together like a kind of film thing to send to every legend for that record. And Where the Boys Are was included in that. And it's, to me, it's always been a door opener song in my life. It's made its way to be that some way, somehow. So even when The Voice came along, um, the crazy thing about that one is, and I knew this is how the Lord was just working, is, they knew my story and they knew that I had sang Where the Boys Are. But when it comes to blind audition, they do have to pick your song. I mean, you send them a million songs of like what you would want to do. And that was in there. I had put it in there, but I didn't make any too big deal about it. Like, I didn't think,
Wait,
especially like a classic 50s song,
they choose your song?
they do, but it's not like the only reason why they do it is because they don't want everyone singing the same song. So they
Yeah,
kind
okay,
of
I get that.
have to. Yeah, because everyone would pick like, I Will Always Love You because it shows off their vocal range or whatever. Like, so it is, yes, they have to, but they don't pick something that you don't
Oh,
want.
okay.
And if you don't like it, you can say, hey, I don't like this. So anywho, we were there and we all started getting emails of like what song we were going to do. And I hadn't got mine yet. It had been like 2 days. People were already getting their emails and everything. I'm like, okay, all right, Lord, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Whatever song I'm supposed to sing, it's going to be what I'm going to sing. And lo and behold, I'm like literally just walking across the street to grab a coffee from the hotel that we were at. And I'm with a couple other of the contestants, and I hear my phone, like the email ding, and I'm like, I think it's it. I think it's it. So I told him, I didn't even look at it. I just said, hey guys, like go ahead without me. So I like went in between cars and just because I don't know why I felt like I needed to have like a moment when reading it for the first time. And I read it and it said Where the Boys Are by Connie Francis. And I I lost it. I literally tears. I tried to call my parents, but they didn't answer at that time. So I was just losing it in the middle of two cars. And because I just knew and I had this overwhelming sense of peace that the Lord was working through every moment of it. And that was a confirmation for me that I was doing the right thing, because when you decide to go on a show in front of millions of people, like it's hard not to be like, am I doing the right thing? Is this like, is this really what I'm supposed to be where I'm at, and it was, the Lord just kept confirming that with like little things like that and dropping that in there. So
I absolutely love that because you can see his miraculous hand
yeah,
move at every area as it came time for you to
so
step on
crazy.
stage. So for you, what was it like when all four chairs turned around?
I think, going into it, everyone wants that, you definitely want the four chair turn, but also you're just kind of like, hey, if I get one, I'm in. If I get one person to turn around, I'm in the show. Like I did it. That's all I need. So really at that time I was just like, I'm going to sing this song and um hope for the best. And if I get one, that's great. If I get four, even better, like and when that happened, it felt like a dream when I was there, when I was singing Where the Boys Are, because I will say too that early on, in the midst of the Bridges record, when I was 15, 16 years old, I think that was when the voice kind of started to come out. So when I had first seen the show, I in my brain, like the Lord just kind of told me, like, you're gonna do that one day, and I felt it, and I knew too that Where the Boys Are was what I wanted to sing. Did I think it was gonna happen? No, not really. And did I think it was going to happen the way that I had imagined it at that point? No, but so when being up there, it felt like I was in a dream because I had dreamt it so many times.
Well, I know you went to Team Blake, which
Yeah.
is still probably the most premier team on The Voice.
Yeah.
But did anybody battle Blake to try to change your mind to move on to somebody else? So who battled for you besides Blake?
I mean, they all kind of did, but I will say that Adam Levine, he was the first to turn around too. And so he loved like just my voice and the song choice itself, and like I think he knew though, like coming from Texas and like just growing up in country, I think a lot of the times it's like, okay, this is a no-brainer. But I was really tempted to go with Adam just because he was the first person to really turn around and have that like moment of I want her on my team. But at the end of the day, I am in country music, and who doesn't want to be on Blake Shelton's team?
I completely agree with that. And who were the other two judges at that time?
We had Pharrell and Christina Aguilera.
Yeah, I can see that coming down between Adam and Blake.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So Pharrell was a little bit like he's so like your vibe is so cool, and he's like, ooh, your energy and all those things. And I love that, but I don't I don't really dabble that in my everyday. So I really respect him and he's wonderful. And Christina herself, I mean, I remember being super young and like in some like vocal competitions that I would do, I would sing a lot of her songs. So it was pretty tough. I mean, to have that choice of all four, it kind of puts you in a position. You're like, what do I do?
yeah, because you don't want to hurt the feelings of the other judges because you picked the one.
Yeah, you're
And I
like,
can see where, with Adam turning around first, you're like, yeah, okay, he turned around first. And
yeah.
all right, once Adam turned, when did Blake turn?
Not too long after that. It was Adam, Blake, then Pharrell and Christina almost at the same time. Christina was the last one because she even said I another God thing was I said I've been singing Where the Boys Are for a long time, but the thing about it is you work with a vocal coach at The Voice, and she recommended to me that I change it up a little bit, like maybe add another high note or whatever. And in my brain, I'm like, why would I change something that's been already, it's already opened a lot of doors in my life. Why change something that's already good, But I did. I felt this like tugging that I was like, I think I need to add this like extra high note at the end. And I even had sent it to like my family and everything, and their response was, "Well, it's good, but maybe just keep it to what it is, because I had seen success with doing it the regular way that I've done it for years and years. And no, it was 15 minutes before I went on for my blind audition that I just went, nope, I'm putting the note in there. And I put the note in there, and the confirmation for me was when Christina Aguilera turned around and she said, it would have been stupid of me not to turn around when you hit that last high note. And I was like, that high note got me a 4 chair turn. And so just the Lord, he's always doing something.
Well, Christina, well, yeah, and Christina likes the high note. So
Yes,
that's pretty much a given. Well, how has life been after The Voice, and was it a boost to your career?
100%. 100%. It has helped so much. It really did take me from it gave me a career really on the fact that I have now made a living off of my music, and that's all I've had to do. You come here to Nashville especially, and people are working 2 or 3 other jobs to just make ends meet, and then performing on the spare time that they have left. And it's not that I haven't been there, but The Voice was that kind of like almost like a verified check mark on social media. It's like, oh, she's verified. So now she's a part of, I don't know, whatever box you put me in. I'm not sure. But it just verified that. So it really changed my life, and it grew my fan base. I have so many fans from The Voice. They're like, oh my gosh, we watched you. I was just in Florida for a songwriters festival, and some ladies came up and they were like, we loved you on The Voice and we voted for you. And that was, back in 2016. It was a while ago. And it still comes around where these people are just like, we loved it so much. And it blesses my heart. It really does that. People still, they still come up to me and they're like, oh, we watched
you. I think that, and it's weird because, from people who have been on The Voice and then people who've been on American Idol, the aftermath is so different for everyone. But the country artists seem to be the ones that do so much better than all the others. Because pop
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because pop is extremely tough. And I'm not mentioning any names, but I know there are certain acts in country that are only in country because the pop market is so crowded. They needed to put that talent somewhere else. And then once they make it in country, they can start sliding over and crossing the line because now they've got name recognition in front of the public. So, yeah, I know how that works. Let me ask you this. You recently recorded one of the most iconic songs in country music, You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, which for those of you out there watching and listening was on the soundtrack for Clint Eastwood's film Any Which Way You Can and reached #1 in 1981. So now, Mary, it's 2021. It's the 40th anniversary of that hit single, and you joined Lefty Frizzell to bring new life to that classic love song.
Join David. Lefty is his brother. Yeah.
Lefty's the
David
brother.
Frizzell, yes.
I was about to say David for some reason, but everybody
it's so easy
Lefty.
Hello, yeah. Everybody knows Lefty.
But David Frizzell. So how did that come about for you?
It was like right before the craziness of COVID happened. It was both of our almost last show before everything shut down. We were doing a fundraiser here in Nashville. And David was headlining the night, and I had just been asked, literally, I think it was like the night before. They were like, hey, you want to just come and sing like 1 or 2 songs? We've got a house band. We'll just give them the sheet music. You can just come up and sing. And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And then I read that David Frizzell was on there, and I was like, yeah, let's definitely do this. Because backstory to back when I played in the Texas Opry, my dad and I would sing You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma all the time. So it that and Where the Boys Are literally two of the songs that I say I know like the back of my hand. And so when we had that show with David, I had gotten up to sing. I think I sang Texas When I Die and then Strawberry Wine by Dina Carter. And I finished Strawberry Wine and I go to get off stage and David's just standing there like clapping and then he just wraps me in a hug. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? And he goes, girl, your voice is amazing. We've got to work together. We've got to do something. Like, we got to find a song to sing together, whatever that looks like. And so I was just kind of freaking out on the inside. I'm like, of course, yeah, let's do it. At that time I didn't think, it would actually happen. But I ran to my dad who was there and I said, you're not going to believe this, but David Frizzell says he wants to work with me. And my dad is definitely like a jukebox. He knows history of songs. Like, it's crazy. And so he goes, well, you do know the 40th anniversary of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma is coming up. Like, what if you guys did a remake of it? And I just, at first I was like, no, I don't know, maybe. But the thing is, you never know unless you take your shot. So literally messaged their team, talked to David, and they were so excited to do it. And so it flowed and it worked out the way it was supposed to. And it was in just enough time. We were able to be in the studio together to cut it and record it and everything, which was really such a blessing. I think I was 7 months pregnant too when we when we went in there to do it, which was kind of amazing too because I got to technically bring my little girl with me in there, and yeah, it was just a God thing, honestly. Like, just again, relationship driven, because I was asked by just some great friends of mine to come sing a couple songs, and then it just bloomed from there.
Yeah, and I actually watched the acoustic version, and
Yeah.
the whole duet is just magic.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you know,
I said, I think we've met in a past life because, the age range and the difference is crazy, but for some reason, we're like old souls. We like connect in some way somehow. And so doing music with him was just incredible. I mean, we had so much fun in everything that we did. He's an incredible singer even now at his age, and his wife Joanne, so wonderful. Like, they're family now, and that was what was so beautiful about the whole thing too. Is it wasn't just about the song itself; it was also about creating like those like lifelong friendships between us. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that I really like about a lot of the songwriters in Nashville is
yeah,
it's the songwriters, but also the performers that choose the songs of keeping classic traditional country music
hmm
alive,
yeah,
and and that's the way it should be. I remember the day when Randy Travis came out with "Forever and Ever Amen," and that
oh my
that
gosh,
turned country music back to where it needed to be. And
yeah,
now I'm watching, and I think we're all kind of watching this visible tug of war within country between who wants to be a pop star and those who
hmm
want to be country. I'm like, if you want to be pop, go to pop, okay?
yeah, yeah.
And
Don't cross it over.
yeah, and
Yeah.
keep country. And but that's just a
I
personal
think they
opinion.
should just keep separate stations and keep things as they are. If you want to make another genre, call it another thing.
Yeah,
Like, just call it country pop and make a whole nother genre, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And
hmm
I'm gonna leave it there because when it comes to music, everybody's got their own thoughts and opinions. But
Yeah.
I took a listen to your new Christmas single, and I know that you recorded John Denver's "Take Me Home, Country Roads," which the song by
Yeah.
itself. I mean, I listened. I mean, I remember the song. I even had the album when
Yeah.
I was a kid. And
Yeah.
the song just has this flow that you don't
hmm
hear a lot in today's music.
Yeah.
But what amazed me was how you did a modern day mashup with "I'll Be Home for Christmas." And I've got to say, Mary, it actually works. So how did you come up with the idea? Well, yeah, it works perfectly because
Yeah.
you're listening and all of a sudden the change is so small that it
Uh-huh.
blends in so well. So how
Yeah.
did you come up with the idea of actually incorporating both the songs together?
Gosh, so actually back in 2018, I've been working with a company called Boot Barn for years and years now, and they had reached out about doing a commercial for them, and they really wanted Country Roads by John Denver, and so we actually went in and cut a version of that specifically just for their commercial. It was just a regular kind of version of it, and it was around the Christmas time. And so honestly, like I go to my dad about a lot of things, like with music stuff, because he just loves music so much. And I said, we just kind of talked about it. We were like, what if, because Country Roads honestly has that like nostalgic, like almost Christmas feel, because for me, the holidays are about going home for Christmas and like remembering how wonderful like that road to home is. And so it just seemed like, I don't know, we were like, what if we just put some Christmas bells on it and see what happens? And so we were in the studio. Kent Wells, who also produced my Bridges record, helped me to create it. And we didn't, of course, I didn't want to go about it either of like being super hokey, I didn't want it to be really cheesy or anything because I really love Country Roads and I respect the songs for
Yeah,
what
but
it
that
is.
song's not hokey at all.
Yeah, exactly,
And even
exactly.
back then when John Denver recorded it, it was a nationwide hit. I mean, it bordered almost pop. So
Oh yeah,
it's really that type of song that would be the perfect crossover.
yeah.
And I think it did back then. So no, I don't think that song was hokey at all. I
No, and
think
that's what I'm saying. I didn't want to put like Christmas bells on it or a bunch of things and make it hokey.
oh,
Like I didn't want it to sound too. Yeah, no, no, I don't think Country Roads is hokey at all. I think it's a beautiful song, and that was the thing is we really wanted, just like we did with my Bridges record. It's like paying respect, and with "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma." When we went in there, we didn't want to change a lot. I think literally we only like made the tempo a little faster, but we wanted to keep that classic feel because obviously these songs have stood the test of time, and
yeah.
that's saying something. It These days a song is here and gone within a week. It's crazy. But these songs like "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma" and "Country Roads," they've stood the test of time and people love them, and it's a classic song. And so we just had that funny idea of maybe making a Christmas tune because of the feel of being home and going home for the holidays.
Well, kind of give us an insight on something because I've had this conversation, a few conversations about this when people take two songs and to blend them together. So with
Yeah.
Country Roads and then I'll Be Home for Christmas, how do you effectively in the studio work out the arrangement to where they blend well? Is it because maybe both songs have a chord progression that are identical to one
Yes.
another? Is that
It has
why?
it has to do with chord progression. So when we put it together, we only did that first half of the "I'll be home for Christmas" because we wanted to give it the Christmas feel for Country Roads and kind of tell you right off the bat that this is what you're getting into when you're listening to it. Not that so the Christmas bells didn't just come out of nowhere. That was the thing I think with putting that in the beginning. Um, and it did. Melody wise and everything, it seemed to fit the best. And the same idea of like, "I'll be home for Christmas, Country Roads Take Me Home." Like it just worked. I don't know.
Well,
I have to give credit to Kent Wells though for making it like flow seamlessly
Well, see, I
into
was
one
kind of
another.
wondering if it was because of the chord progression, because years ago, I kind of learned something. I actually went out to LA and we had gone to NAM, the big
Yeah.
guitar
Yeah.
show and all that kind of thing. And I was walking through NAM and ran into the guitar player from our church. And I stopped him and I said, "Hey," I said, "that Duran Duran solo you did from Ordinary World blended so well with that Hill song." I think it was, I think they did Shout to the Lord.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
and
Love
I asked
Shout to
him,
the
I
Lord.
go, "How in the world did you get the solo from Ordinary World in the middle of that song?" And he started laughing. He goes, "The chord progression's the same." And I got in trouble for that.
So that's the thing though, is we didn't do a lot of the "I'll be home for Christmas." We only took one line from it. So it wasn't even really a chord progression, and I really kind of sing it a cappella into it. So I guess it really, I don't find it to be the chord progression in itself. Maybe it's the same first chord. It's not the whole
Yeah.
progression itself, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still, but ladies and gentlemen, Mary Sarah, you've got to listen to the new Christmas single. I mean, Take Me Home Country Roads blended with I'll Be Home for Christmas. Mary, I think you've got a great Christmas hit on your hands.
Thank
And probably
you.
the
Thank
type of
you.
song that I would probably expect it to be more of one of the Christmas songs that we'd want to hear every year. And I would not be
Yay.
surprised if other artists start picking that up. So
Oh, I
kudos to
hope
you for
so.
pulling that
Thank
off.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We just have fun, and that's what I've learned most with music is just to continue loving what you're doing and what you're creating and create with people you love. And that's where the magic happens. So
Well, what is next for Mary Sarah?
oh my gosh. Well, like I said, I'm a new mom, so I've got a 10-month-old. So she's a little bit of a handful, but I love her. She's incredible and the best thing to happen, honestly, to me. And music wise, I am recording right now, so I've got a lot of new stuff coming, and I'm really excited because this is the first, other than an EP I released back in 2016. This is the first time it's not going to be like a duet with like David Frizzell. It's all actual original music of mine. So I'm really excited to like give that to my fans. So we're in the midst of working on that, and hopefully that'll be within the probably next year sometime. I don't have a date for it yet, but
So
we're
a
definitely.
full length album?
I haven't decided yet. So we've got 4 songs right now that we have like fully completed, and I think I want to do 7 songs. So I don't know if that means like a full album or if it means an EP still. I'm not really sure what that falls under. But seven's my lucky number. So I think we have like 3 more we want to get on that, and then it'll be done and ready for the world.
All
So
right, then when it comes
yeah.
out, you come back and see me and we'll
Of
do this all over
course.
again.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Ward. It has been such a pleasure. And hopefully, maybe I'll see you in Texas sometime.
Oh, absolutely, and possibly in Nashville as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Sarah, one of the greatest. I want to say, I don't even want to call you a new rising star because you're already there. And so, ladies and gentlemen, check out Mary Sarah's brand new Christmas single, Take Me Home Country Roads, blended with a little bit of I'll Be Home for Christmas.